Hi everyone. Let's talk about the space poster. How to match your file to my file. On the left is the original, this is my file, and on the right is the student's file. And I think it's pretty obvious in this example that the image on the right is not really very close to the image on the left. This text on the right is so much larger than the original. The moon and the satellite are very different colors. The headline area is also a very different size. So that one's an obvious example. Overall, the color is just different. Let's look at one that's not so obvious. You might be looking at this example. It has the original on the left, students' work on the right, and you might be thinking, gosh, that's really close. How could they possibly make this even, better? It may be a few minor things, like the moon obviously is a little bit larger in the student's version. But other than that, it looks so close. Please remember, I'm going to go into the details of this. I'm going to be looking specifically at different areas to see how close it actually is. Why might I do that? Well, first of all, for school, for class, your ability to use elements and principles of design are based on you being able to really visually see fine details in images. In a practical example, I've had clients need to rebuild artwork. Perhaps they have an ad that they really like, a logo, or some other artwork that used to be in layers. Now they only have a flattened version, but they need to have the layered file again so that they can make maybe some text changes or some slight color changes. In that case, it's going to be really important for me to match everything in the flat file. Let's go back to the student example. Obviously, the moon on the right is a little bit larger than the moon on the left. That one's obvious. Satellite, the satellite's a little bit larger. The space between the lines of text in the student's work is quite a bit more than that on the left. This margin right here between the border and the text on the student's work is much less than what's in the original file. That one might have been harder for you to see. I saw it immediately, and it's really important, and you'll get more used to finding those tiny things. The space between the bottom of the text and the border in the student's work is a lot less than in the original. So looking through the size of the text and the size of the other elements, those are looking pretty good. What I also want to do, though, is look at some of these background textures and stars to see if those match up. This guy is looking good, matches over here. He looks a tiny bit larger maybe. We've got some folds in the paper that are matching. Over here, those folds are matching pretty good. So, that's looking really good. Now, as your instructor, what I will also do is try to place some of these stars in the back when I'm looking at your assignment. This star over here on the right of the original is not seen. They've got the right background in there, and I think what's happened is the background on the student's work is a little bit larger than in the original file. If they were to make it a little bit smaller, probably that star would come in there. So you need to try to make sure all those pieces are working. How can you do that? You might be thinking, well, that's really hard to do. I mean, it looks close, but how could we possibly get each piece of that to look as, exactly the same, as close as possible? What you can do is copy the original, do a copy paste, come over to your file that you're working on, and on the top layer, paste it in. There we go. So now both of those are the same image. If I click on the right and I turn the original on and off, you can see the differences. And you can see that there's quite a bit of difference. If I have this copied into the top layer of my work, I can do this while I am placing every object on the page. I'm absolutely going to get the moon, the text, all these different pieces. I'm going to get them correct because I've got a guide. Sometimes I'll come up and I turn down the opacity on the original layer, on the top layer, so I can kind of see where I'm at. See what I need to make larger and smaller. So that's a really helpful little hint that can make your life a lot easier when you're trying to duplicate work.